another episode of the Think Successfully Room. This is a platform we focus on building mindsets, we building character, bringing value to both you and your people, and aligning your body with your intelligence. We got a part 2 for y'all today, financial literacy. Last video was part 1. We had to bring y'all another part of that because it was getting that good. So I got Francisco Anderson back in here with me today, y'all. Man, how you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling good, bro.
Man,
good to see you again tonight.
You, yeah, likewise.
Spending time with you.
So, last time we was on here, can't really remember where we left off. But how should we start this podcast today?
Well, there's a number of ways we can start it out, but I would think let's finish up a little bit of what we talked about last week.
Okay.
We were in the category talking about debt, and considering what season we in right now, right?
Right.
You got a lot of folks going to get part-time jobs so they can go out and do the whole gift thing, right? And unfortunately, you got a whole lot more people swiping them credit cards.
Oh yeah, that's a fact.
So you're gonna have folks trying to pay that stuff off in January, February, March.
Oh yeah, tax season coming up.
Yeah, well, hopefully when they get the tax returns, they pay that off, but they probably go buy something else.
Man, it never really happens like that, man. See, it's crazy. It kind of amazes me how we use credit cards to leverage the things that we want to pay for, even around holidays, man. Even if you can't afford it, you still use those credit cards to try to satisfy your kids or loved ones that you wanna make sure you give a good Christmas to. And even though you know you need to pay these credit cards off, the moment you get that money to do it, the last thing you're thinking about is paying off that debt.
No, exactly, because you're thinking, man, what can I do with this money right now?
Right? Yeah.
You think I got the money in the hand, right?
Right.
And so it's burning a hole in your pocket. And so unfortunately, we're thinking about spending. And the crazy thing is when you think about our culture as a whole, we're amongst the largest spenders there are out there.
Man,
and
that's a fact.
So when you start looking at the gross domestic product, the African American community pumps in $2 trillion a year in spending or more, right? And so literally the African American community can be ranked amongst some of the world's largest economies.
And is that including spending money that they don't even have?
That's spending money they don't have. Credit resources, all of it. So it goes back to a conversation you and I were having recently. We were talking about mindset. And so the mindset of our people is just spend. So when we start talking about the credit card thing, I was thinking about this. Many of my clients, they tend to say, well, Francisco, how about I go ahead and let me pay off all my debt first, right? Once I pay off my debt, I'll go ahead and start saving all kinds of money. And part of that, there's some room for that, right? For that school of thought. But on the other side, it's kind of like, hold on a second. If you go off and pay off all that debt, but then you get right back into a situation where you're going back to.
Yeah, see, okay, so that reminds me of, I think I ran this rule by you once before, the 50, 20, 30% rule. Now, I know me and you have went through a financial analysis, but this is a rule that I had came across a long time ago when I first started getting into financial literacy. So the 50% is what you would use towards expenses. 20% is what you would use to pay yourself. And then that 30% is what you use to enjoy yourself, right? But how I look at it is, say like if it's somebody that don't really go out as much, right? You can either use that 30% to invest it or use that 30% to pay off credit card debts if you have it.
You can reroute it just like that.
Yeah.
It's a reallocation of dollars, and it comes back to what's your mindset. And so when we think about mindset, is our mindset on spending or is our mindset on saving and investing? What is it set on? Right. And that's what it comes down to. So if you're saying, hey, I really don't go out, so I don't entertain myself as much as I could, and I got these debts, let me go ahead and take care of it. That's smart.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you made room with that 20%. That 20% you dedicated to saving first, right?
That's a fact, yes.
Because if you didn't save that 20%, what happens if you run into an emergency, right? So now you're going back to that pile of debt and you're saying, okay, I need to go ahead and use my Visa, MasterCard, and all of these different types of debt instruments to get yourself out your situation.
Oh, I ain't think about that one, man. So.
And you made me think, you said something earlier. When it comes down to it, I think oftentimes the credit card is used as a bridge to the next payday to begin with.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And which spells out this point. So for anybody and everybody listening to this, please take this for what it is. Credit, payday loans, loans from a bank. Essentially, anytime you borrow money, what that reflects is that you don't make enough money. So if you gotta borrow it, you don't make enough. Now, let me be careful how I say that too. It's not in the sense that, hey, I wanna go and open up a business, so let me go get a business loan. Different situation. Right? Different situation, because that's capital at that point. Mm-hmm. We're talking about, man, I wanna go buy a brand new car, okay? Is it smart to go ahead and finance a depreciating asset? What do I mean when I say that?
Man, it is not, man.
I mean, you're driving off the lot, and what do they say? How much is it worth now?
Man, I can't remember the exact number. I just know it drops in value when you drive off that lot.
Like 20, 30% easily.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure, for sure.
And so when you start seeing that's gonna drop, and then you turn around and paying finance fees and interest rates on it, what was the point?
And man,
for the length of time, all the interest that you pay to banks, you think they're not making no money?
Man, you want to know what's crazy, man? Is that you will be mind blown that I'm talking about 30, 35 that don't understand the interest rate.
Oh my God.
They go in there and finance a vehicle with a 26% interest.
No big deal.
And not even knowing exactly how much that is of the car. They don't know what 26% is of, let's say if it's a $20,000 car. They don't know what 26% is. And it amazes me how they can go in here, and dealerships sense that. Mm-hmm. When you go in there and you looking around for a car, they can sense exactly how bad you want that vehicle.
That's
so
right.
they play on that.
Right.
And they know just how you talk. They know what you know. Like they know exactly what you don't know.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's how folks end up getting over. So imagine to yourself if you could make 26%. On something, right? 26% on something. Let's say you got $100,000 and you make 26%. That's a $26,000, right? And so you go out and you pay 26%.
It's crazy, man.
You giving away money.
Yeah.
And then just imagine the situations where you might be in that situation where you do a payday loan or something like that. Now you're giving away 4 times that. 5 times that, 6 times that, 8 times that, and then you get stuck in that cycle. So having the conversation over debt, it's a good conversation for this season. So we can encourage people to say, hey, listen, if you want to get out of debt, talk to us, right? That's really what it comes down to.
Man, y'all, we really got to get in that mindset as far as earning interest and not paying.
That's right. We should be earning it as opposed to paying it. Be in a position of getting it paid to you rather than paying it out. And too many times we find ourselves in a situation where you're paying it out. And here's the thing, I don't knock it if you know for a fact that you're going to do it for a very short term period. Short term. If you know this is just that urgent situation, you got to do this, it's something you got to do, fine, right? But now it also speaks to another situation, credit score.
Oh my God.
So the whole reason you paying this high interest rate to begin with.
It's your credit, man.
It's your credit score.
Man, obviously, that can go on for hours, man, about credit, just structuring it, man. And they don't realize that either, man. That's why I stress to people, if you're going to go finance something, at least make sure your credit is in the order so that you can get the lowest interest rate.
Absolutely, because you pay the least amount of interest when you got high credit scores.
Yeah.
That means, and what does it really mean to have a credit score these days? That means that you're paying all your bills, your utilities on time, right? It means that you're paying your mortgage note on time. That means if you got a car loan, you're paying that on time. That means if you got credit cards, you're paying that on time, and you're not just paying the minimums, right? Because for anybody that's out there looking to improve their credit, here's a little secret. There's a little secret, right? It's coming at you. Don't spend anything greater than a third on your credit card if you're not going to pay it off that month, right? Because if you're going to carry that, that means you're going to carry the interest and the finance charges. right? And any additional fees that they might assess. And then don't even forget to calculate your annual fees that typically will come in with your credit cards too. And most people don't even think nothing of that. That's a fee that they charge you for just to carry it.
Man, and if you gonna carry that, man, at least understand your credit card utilization, man, and how that works, man.
Absolutely.
You can't sit here and run up a credit card and not knowing exactly how much you should be using and how much you shouldn't use, right? Because that all determines if your credit score. That all determines how drastically your score gonna drop.
Big time.
You know, and a lot of people, and I ain't trying to make this episode about credit, but a lot of people, they say, well, I'd rather just sit here and pay somebody to repair my credit for me. And my response to that is, why would you pay somebody to repair your credit score? Because let's say they sit here and get your credit score to where you want it to be. Right? You still lack the knowledge to sustain that credit score.
Period. You don't know how they got there.
Right. So it's the best thing you can do is sit here and educate yourself to know exactly how to sustain your credit score. Once you learn that, then go finance things knowing you're gonna be able to get those low interest rates.
That's right. And then on top of it, you got to be careful too when you go out and finance those things, because that's what it is. Things, material goods. Can you keep up with their payments?
Oh,
because
that's a big one too.
Because now keep in mind, so you're employed by somebody, and most people realize this time of the year, typically, companies are laying folks off, right? And so if you got a whole bunch of credit cards and things that you didn't finance, now you're in a position where you're thinking, man, my job laid me off. I got all of this stuff to pay. What am I gonna do? Right. And most people don't realize it, but they're literally 60 to 90 days away from bankruptcy, from losing everything that they got. So you're losing your car, losing your apartment, losing, the stuff that you didn't went and bought. Somebody coming to collect.
Oh yeah.
Somebody collect.
And that's a terrible feeling, knowing that the things that you making payments on, you technically don't even own it.
You technically don't own it.
Right. So when you decide to not pay these people, because it's in the contract, you decide to not pay these people their money, they still gonna come collect.
Yeah.
What belongs to them. And what's even more crazy about that situation is that you probably invested a lot of money into whatever this is. So when they come collect what belongs to them, you out of all this money when really you could have just saved up for whatever it is that you wanted, bought it out, and now you own it.
You just made me think about something I've told cats over the years. I say, listen, instead of getting them cars with the rims on them, the spinners, everybody like to look good, get a portfolio, right? But when you finance that vehicle, you put the sounds in it, you put the rims on it, you put the body kit, everything, it looks good. But then you do the drive-through to the bank's like, oh, my car look pretty good, don't it? Right? Because that's really what it comes down to, because the bank still own it.
Oh, I like
and
that.
So it's an asset column for the bank, it's a liability column for you.
Oh yeah, that's a fact.
So you didn't put money into it. You could have paid the car off with all of what you didn't put into it, right? But unfortunately, I think there's this thing where we put stock into things that are owned. There's a book out there called The Millionaire Next Door. And I invite folks to go out and get that book and read it, right? And here's the reason why. We are too in tune with driving a Mercedes or driving BMWs or driving Cadillacs, things with names on it. And unfortunately, no pot to pee in, no window to throw out, just look good, right? The idea of having the latest iPhones, right? It's a good product, right? Nothing wrong with it. But the idea of having it to look like we got status. And that's what it is, it's status.
Right.
And so you really can't, what are you gonna do with that?
Man, it's see, I'm in a mindset of, I feel like everybody should be in this mindset, right? Because like you said, man, it's all a status, it's a name on it. Just like when it comes to clothes and when it comes to purses, we buy things, mainly the black community too. We buy things just off the name, right?
Off the name.
But sometimes forget trying to be in a BMW or a Mercedes. How about just just getting a car that's capable of getting you from point A to B.
And ain't nothing wrong with that.
And that can be a $6,000 car.
That's
That
right.
sounds a lot better than $30,000 to me.
Whole lot better.
You know what I'm saying? So I'd rather sit here and pay cash $6,000 that I own this car. I may have to put a little money into it because it's pre-owned, but I know that I own it. I ain't got to worry about reporting to somebody else making payments, and I can sleep better at night knowing that it ain't somebody else, somebody that's finna come collect this car while
It's
I'm
gonna
sleeping.
be there when you wake up.
Yeah, I'm lit.
The midnight movers, right? So
Yeah.
you ain't gonna worry about that.
They even now, man, they even got it to where if you don't make them their payments, if you don't pay them, they shutting the car off. It's a chip in it. Yeah, they shutting that joint off.
They stopping you on the road. Why my car stop? That's a problem.
Yeah.
So I mean that says a lot. So I mean debt is obviously an issue, and that's something we want to resolve. I mean if we can, we like to eradicate it, especially in the Black community, and teach folks how to not only get out of it, but to stay out of it. Because there's a scriptural principle that highlights you shall owe no one anything except for love, right? So you shouldn't owe anybody anything. So do your best that you can to get out of that. And so why are we talking about that? Because we actually have tools and we have solutions that we can apply to a person's situation to help them get out of debt. And that's really what it comes down to.
Man, let's talk about them solutions, man.
And so that's one of those situations where I say, make sure that you schedule an appointment.
Oh, right.
And so we can sit down and go through that, and you can book an appointment with us, and we'll help you to put together a debt strategy.
Right.
While simultaneously, though, we'll also build a strategy for to save and invest money at the same time, because you need to do both of them simultaneously. If you just do one and not the other, you're kind of missing the boat.
Man, so when we went over my financial analysis, man. So when we did a full financial analysis, I'm not knowing exactly what you were going to recommend once we went through all of that. And I'm happy that I believe I told you that I was putting about 25%. I was paying myself about 25%.
Yep.
So what we did was we took a portion of that and put that into an IUL policy.
That's right.
And that was the smartest. The more and more I learned about an index universe, I'm like, oh my God, that's the smartest move that anybody has given me as far as advice goes. So, is you willing to speak on IUL policy?
Yeah, I can speak on that briefly. So first off, you got to talk about what is an IUL. Most people know about insurance, and when they think about insurance, they think about two types: term insurance, and then they think about whole life insurance, right? But in the column of permanent insurance, there are four types of insurance: whole life, universal life, variable universal life, and then index universal life. Whole life is the granddaddy of all insurance, essentially. It's been around since Hammurabi, essentially, right? And then you get into the universal life world that just came about in the 70s, and it's more of what we call a flexible premium type of insurance. And so again, if you get into a situation you need to adjust the premiums, that's what it's for, right? You can adjust the premiums, whereas whole life is not so adjustable. Variable universal life takes the benefit of being able to invest in the stock market itself, utilizing what's called a sub-account approach. And so not necessarily calling them mutual funds, but sub-accounts. And so you can actually buy into sub-accounts that mirror mutual funds, and they go up and down in the market, right? So you can actually benefit from it if you really understand it. And it takes some time to talk in detail about that. But the recent advent, the last 10, 15 years, 20 years, index universal life has come on the scene, and it has actually just changed the game.
Powerful, man.
It's changed the game. And what do I mean by that? First off, all of the permanent products can give you tax advantages. So it didn't bring that to the table. All of them have tax advantages. But it also has flexible premium, right? So it's flexible for you with that. And it also gives you the benefit of utilizing what we call index-based strategies. So what that means is that a person is never directly invested in the market, so they never have to worry about whether the market's going up or going down and if they're going to lose money. So the index strategy is based in whole or in part on an index such as an S&P or a Dow Jones or a NASDAQ or Hang Seng or Euro Stocks. Those are all independent indices, And so each company that operates and manufactures an IUL product would use one of those indices or some kind of a hybrid or in-house portfolio model that they create themselves. So in any case, the IUL though, if the index does really well, your account does well, right? It goes up.
Right.
But if the index doesn't do well, your product has what's called a floor. The floor is zero,
Right.
and zero is hero. So it's simple as that. So you don't lose no money, right? And so historically, if you go back and even go back to the 1929 stock market crash, what you'll find is that permanent insurance is actually done way better than the market itself.
Right.
All the way through till now. So comparatively. So you're more likely to do really well with a permanent insurance product compared to what the market's actually done. So at the end of the day, hey, you can't lose. And here's another thing too. So with an IUL product, you have the flexibility of accessing the money before 59 and a half. Whereas if you're inside of your traditional IRA or Roth IRA,
And that's my fault for cutting. And that's taking the loan out against your policy, right?
so you're taking a loan out from the policy and there's some additional inner workings in there, but it's actually taking money out of the account where the insurance company is lending you the money.
Right.
And so your money is continuously working within your account, depending on which IUL strategy you have in place. So it's a powerful tool. So you have access before 59 and a half. You don't have to have a hardship situation to say, hey, I'm about to lose my house. I need to borrow some money. You ain't got to do that. Just call them up and say, hey, I know I got $300,000 in the account. Can I pull out 150?
Man, this I'm not sure if this guy had an IUL. So the book that was given on the website, What Would the Rockefellers Do?
Sure.
I believe that's the name of the book. And it was a section in there about creating your own family banks. So what he did was, instead of going to finance a vehicle, he actually, say like when you finance a vehicle, right? Say like the payment is $500 a month. So what he was doing was he actually went to lease a vehicle, and he was paying half of that for the lease, and then he was putting the other half into, it might have been an IUL policy, right? So by the end of that lease, he actually saved up enough money into that IUL to be able to pay off that car. And he began paying off that loan that he took from the IUL. But instead of him paying the loan back plus the interest to a financial institution, he was paying the interest back to that IUL policy. And that's what began to make his account a lot stronger.
Absolutely. And that's what we call self-banking, right? So in that particular strategy, he utilized or leveraged what he already had in his account. So he was able to leverage. So as opposed to going to the bank or a finance company and financing that vehicle at 10%, 12%, whatever the rate might have been, he was able to finance it at a lower rate based on what the insurance company offers, right? So think about it this way. When you look at, there's a website that you can take a look at, and we can post it somewhere at some point. But it shows the U.S. banks that are banking with the insurance companies. And most people don't realize it, but that's where the insurance company, where the banks bank, is with the insurance companies. So that's important to note. So utilizing and talking about that family banking strategy, when you have an IUL or any permanent insurance product, you have the capability of being able to borrow from yourself.
Man, it's powerful, man, because it's like now you just put yourself in a position to where you don't have to go put in some type of application and hold on to hope whether or not you're gonna get approved for that loan.
Absolutely.
And another thing is credit don't come into play because it's like a private loan.
It is a private loan completely.
You know what I'm saying? So if you need a loan, you able to go do that with no problem at all.
Absolutely.
And
just
take
call the
care
company.
of, yeah, that's it, man. And I think that's why it was so powerful to me, is because we really have the ability to create our own base. We just have to apply ourselves and dig into the knowledge in order to do so.
Absolutely. So take it a step further, right? So that same product that you bought, that you borrow money out of from yourself to buy a depreciating asset, right? You can use that same product to go buy an appreciating asset. What do I mean by that?
Wait, repeat that again. That kind of,
You can use that same product, that same IUL.
Okay.
You can borrow from yourself to go out and purchase an appreciating asset. Okay. So there's books out there like Money, Wealth, and Life Insurance by Jake Thompson, or The Power of Zero, right? So there's a number of books that have been written to highlight that singular point. You can use that. So let's say your IUL performs and does 8%. Okay, great. But you know that there's another opportunity to maybe gain 12 or 15%. Well, you can pull money out of your IUL, go stick your money into the other account to earn that, and then turn around and put it back. So you can use that as seed money.
That sounds like some, did Warren Buffett do that?
Warren Buffett bought the company Geico.
Oh. Man, because I remember I read the book, man. It was somebody, they compared that strategy to somebody did that strategy. I can't think of who it was.
So there's companies. So in the book, Money, Wealth, and Life Insurance, you got companies like Walt Disney. You know, he pulled money out of his insurance to be able to keep the company going.
I read that.
You know, and that's powerful, right? That's historic, really. And then you turn that around, and I think it simply comes back to, who do you associate yourself with? Who are you around to be able to get these gems, these nuggets, and what are you reading, right? It's always been said, or often been said, if you don't want somebody to know something, put it in a book.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. If you don't want somebody to know something, put it in a book, and that's all you got to do. And so our whole thing is let's bring some awareness to the circumstances that folks have, and address the issue. And so when it gets down to it, I think there's 6 areas of money that needs to be addressed. 1, budgeting. Make sure you address that.
Facts.
2, let's look at your debt situation. Let's overcome and pay off all your debt. And then 3, emergency funds. Make sure you got 3 to 6 months, maybe 12 months of liquidity set up. The pandemic proved that out. Number 4, proper protection. What does that even mean? Living benefit insurance. That's something for while you're alive for critical and chronic illnesses. And then for premature death. Number 5, it simply gets into asset accumulation. Utilizing the right financial vehicles to accumulate money, assets over time.
Man, assets over liabilities. Earn your leisure, said that.
Assets over liabilities, because what you gonna do with them liabilities? You gotta pay for them. Right?
Yeah.
They're liability, right? And then the final one, 6th one, is really preserving your wealth. So how do you go about doing that? Making sure you have a proper will, a proper trust in place. And so who can you get that stuff done through?
Oh, man.
Boom!
Oh yeah, man, let's get it, man.
And so, that's really that's the reason why I'm really excited to work with you, bro.
I appreciate
because
that,
I know you're going to help a lot of people, and just having the conversations with you over why you started this program and why you're building it, it's to help.
Man,
it's to help put the word out. Say, hey, listen, we got people that we need to educate.
Man, I just care about our people, and just as a whole, man. As I was saying, man, mainly well, I ain't even gonna say mainly, but my family as well, man, because I can't think of nobody, whether that's my mother's side, whether that's my father's side. Nobody has the financial education or the means to get out of the situation that they're in. Right. Everybody have a dream to, oh man, I'm tired of paying bills, I'm tired of doing this, I'm tired of working. But don't nobody really have that drive that I want them to have, right? So I always told myself, I have the drive, I have the means to sit here and apply myself and dig deep for the knowledge. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna spread it to y'all. I'm gonna give it to y'all, so that I can try to help you. You know what I'm saying, y'all and y'all families. And that's really what my goal was. And then we started a platform like this, so now I'm just seeking to educate the world.
Absolutely, you know absolutely, and it's happening right now. No doubt that as people watch these episodes, I think they're going to be blown away. And I think it even takes it a step further. Not only can we help individuals get themselves in order financially in those 6 areas, right? But this is an actual means to be able to put people in a better financial position, because now we can help them as entrepreneurs.
But look, man, we can say that for another time.
Yeah, we can save it.
Man, definitely, man. So, man, appreciate you for sitting down for part 2, Brody.
Part 2.
Man, we're going to go ahead and close this out, y'all. Life is good. Life is wonderful. Be blessed to be alive. Self-sufficiency is how you survive. To the kings and queens, to the guys and goddess, forever and always, think successfully. Yeah.